Welcome to Spoiler Alert, where we talk about and spoil the shows you're obsessed with. This week we're going to post-mortem Mad Men's finale and assess the show's Emmy chances. Is the streak about to end?
This becomes a much simpler matter.
And Matt Mitovich and I are going to pick our Dream Emmy nominee. We're each going to get one.
Sounds good.
So I felt like the Mad Men finale, much like the entire season, underwhelming.
I just kept waiting for something to happen. Maybe it's just because we've been, trained to be that way, but just nothing happened. It was kind of like the Fringe finale we talked about a couple weeks ago. You're waiting for a shoe to drop. Pete gets into that little bit of a scrape on the train. Oh, something nasty is going to end up happening here. But no, he just gets bopped in the head like it's the Little Rascals cartoon.
I don't mind a quiet finale, but again, my complaint with the finale was too much Megan.
You're supposed to be encouraging.
A character that I really have no investment in, a character I don't care about.
Are you going to make yourself cry?
My problem with Megan, and I'm generally a fan, is just, it almost seems like a contrived conflict for Don. I mean, maybe it's just people just don't change. Don Draper will never change, he'll never be happy. But it's just like, they keep giving him these chances at happiness, but he never seizes them. Everyone's saying how by giving her the role at the end, he's basically saying goodbye to her.
Yeah.
Why does he think that he can't have a life with this woman just because, she's an actress?
Right. I did like, though, that they finally revealed that she is an evil, evil human being. When she stole that audition from her friend.
All I want is an audition.
Oh, she's just...
No, that was pure evil.
All I want you to do is put my name in a pile.
She was an unlikable character.
Peggy's back.
Peggy's back.
Peggy was back.
Right, all this hoopla over she might be leaving the show. Matt Weiner is not that dumb to write off Elizabeth Moss.
That come with tremendous backlash.
Well, especially there's so much potential in the story about, her going up against Don next season.
Right.
I loved the scene in the movie theater. Anytime that those two characters are in a scene together, the show is just, it's gold for me.
Peggy just doesn't take his crap. They have a good back and forth always. There's just the most subtle of zingers.
You lose your job?
No. Did you?
I really like the closing scene with the five partners checking out the new
Gorgeous,
space.
the way they directed that scene. Obviously, the new season picking up with them already moved into the office. I think it's fair to say.
But will Megan be around? But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. Speaking of Mad Men, I kind of feel like the show is more vulnerable than ever to losing the Best Drama Emmy.
And it's won 4 years in a row.
4 years in a row. So the odds would seem to favor it, picking it up a 5th year in a row. But I feel like there hasn't been that one standout episode like The Suitcase last year.
Right.
Without a slam dunk like that, with all the competition from Homeland and Breaking Bad, which had probably its best season to date.
I will kill your infant daughter.
I don't think it's going to get the 5th Emmy.
As much buzz as Mad Men got towards the end of the season with episodes like The Other Woman, where Joan, quote unquote, prostituted herself.
Yeah.
That was almost like the wrong kind of buzz, because a lot of the pieces on that were in kind of a negative way, that the show was making people act out of character.
Yes.
But the one thing that Mad Men has going in its favor every year is it does premiere closer to the Emmy time.
Yep.
Whereas shows like Sons of Anarchy, Homeland, and Breaking Bad, they all finale'd back
fresh in
in
people's
October
minds.
and December.
Yeah.
Back in October, we were like, oh, wow, what a fantastic season of Breaking Bad this is. What an incredible season of Sons of Anarchy.
Right.
Now we've kind of forgotten that.
Right.
And my concern is that Emmy voters will forget that too, while Mad Men is still fresh in their mind.
Even if it doesn't win the best series, is this year that another streak ends, and that's all of the actors being shut out from winning.
Which is just mind-boggling every year.
It's crazy to think not a single Mad Men actor, guest, lead, supporting, anything has ever won an Emmy. My feeling is if anyone is going to pick it up this year, it's going to be Christina Hendricks for the episode you just mentioned, and also maybe John Slattery. There's a lot of buzz around his performance in the LSD episode.
But I think Christina is definitely the front runner to pull it off if anybody is going to do it.
You're a good one, aren't you?
They gave her a lot of different notes to play this year. And I just think the character arc over the past 5 seasons has been very entertaining. I mean, you think about who Joni was when we first met her, and now she's a frickin' partner in the firm.
Yeah.
It's just really fascinating.
It really is. At the same time, even though Elizabeth Moss and John Hamm don't have the slam dunk showcase that The Suitcase was last season, I'd still be very happy to see them win. Just for the body of work over the 5 seasons, they've been amazing. And their work hasn't been bad this season. They just really haven't given, especially, John Hamm hasn't really been given that juicy of a storyline. I feel like most of it has been reacting to other people's storylines.
I see where you're getting at, that he's been getting outshone by Jessica Perry.
That's exactly what I was getting at. Thank you for pointing that out.
To put a too fine a point on it.
I wouldn't rule out Jessica getting a nomination, honestly.
I think so.
She's on Mad Men, and everybody took knocks at January Jones acting, and she got a slew of nominations. The writing, I think, just elevates everyone's performances. Personally, if she steals a nomination away from Elizabeth Moss, there will be rioting in the streets, and I will be leading the riot.
This might be Jessica's only chance, though. Because, Matt Weiner's out there intimating that that character is gone, that when Don walked away from her at the end, that he was basically walking out of that marriage.
I would forgive Mad Men for all its faults this season if Matt Weiner writes out.
Even Fat Betty?
I didn't mind that at all. I actually like seeing January Jones
outside of Mad Men,
in that situation.
Who would you like to see get a nomination?
There's one person I'd really love to see get an Emmy nomination. It's Katey Sagal from Sons of Anarchy. I feel like Sons of Anarchy has a lot of momentum going in this season. It had its best season ever, and the performances were just off the charts. So honestly, Katey, Charlie...
Yeah, Katey or Charlie would make me very
and even
happy.
Maggie Siff. Any of those three people who all just picked up Critics' Choice nominations.
Maggie had such a good season last season.
I mean,
and again, we need to think back a ways.
Yeah.
But she had the crushing of the hand.
That
she lost
episode
her
when she was in the
career.
hospital and she just, the reality of the situation she was now in where she might lose her job because she doesn't have control of her hand.
I'll never save another life again.
The one good thing she had going for her in her life.
I'll never fix a tiny heart. Come on.
You were saying that, John Hamm, he didn't have the big suitcase episode this year that might, lock him a win. So I think that opens it up for Bryan Cranston, who, if we think back, had a really outstanding season.
I would never begrudge Bryan another Emmy. At the same time, would love to see some new blood in there. Last year,
Lewis.
When Kyle Chandler won, of course Bryan wasn't eligible. It was just so nice to see a new face get up on that stage, and a deserving face. So as much as Bryan deserves it, sure, I'd love to see someone new win.
It could be Damian Lewis.
Damian Lewis, and even John Hamm. But yes, Bryan Cranston is the favorite.
I won.
And I honestly think Breaking Bad is the favorite to win. I really think that's gonna be a tough show to beat.
There's some good supporting players I'd like to see get recognized this year. Like, again, thinking back, Giancarlo Esposito on Breaking Bad. When that season was going on last year, that's all anybody was talking about. Giancarlo Esposito has to get a nomination for his work as Gus Fring. If you're talking about reach schools, I'd really like to see John Noble get on the list. I know it's a stretch.
That ship has sailed.
But
yeah, no, I agree.
Sci-fi, low ratings, but he had a very strong season this year. All right, but if you want to get out of the sci-fi realm, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Sandra Oh get some recognition. She had some really great work on Grey's Anatomy this year. Or, but Robert Carlyle. He created a character on Once Upon a Time. Oh, he actually created two. And he's having a lot of fun. He's made some bold choices. I know it's not going to happen, but I think if anybody on that cast is going to break through, it maybe could be him.
I thought so.
Do you think Scandal stands a chance of sneaking in there?
When I think Scandal, I think that Kerry Washington is that character. She's so great in it. She's the only person you see playing Olivia Pope. I'm just wondering if the show is just a little bit too new, that maybe people are going to want her to prove herself just a little bit more in a second season to show that this just wasn't just some big 7-episode wonder.
Goodbye, Mr. President.
Thanks, Matt.
Always a pleasure.
So while the credits roll, we're going to talk about our favorite Megan scenes from Mad Men.
All right. See, I always liked any of the stuff that she had with the kids, because the stuff when she would bond with Sally, or if you go back to the season premiere, there was that whole psychosexual scene where she's scrubbing the carpet, and then she's having the fight with Don, and it turns into this whole